clearly the decision is being driven by culture war feels. It's based on vibes. There's not really any data to support their arguments in favor of a top-down mandate on telework.
Dale Jackson here with you. Emily Hayes, JP with you as well. Our next guest, Jacob Morrison, you know him. He's here for the Valley Labor Report, 9:30 to 11 right here on WV. And one of the things he and I were talking about before this segment and via text message is there's a bill out where Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney have introduced a bipartisan Back to Work Act. And this has been kind of kicking around for a while. And it basically says, yeah, if you want to telework, you can do that about 40%. We're going to bring the rest of this back home. And a lot of people are not happy about this because they don't want to go back to work. And there's a bunch of people, and I know this for a fact because I know a lot of people that work for the government, obviously, and contractors and whatnot. I know people that have moved jobs so they could telework. I've seen that. I've heard of people not taking jobs or promotions that would require them to come back to the office. There's a lot of people that don't want to do that. I'd be a giant hypocrite to say I didn't understand, because I completely understand that. So Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney are kicking that around. And I think the workers, and this is something Jacob Morrison focuses on, the workers are not too happy about this. They like the flexibility of being at home, the ability to take that 2-hour lunch, the ability to do a workout at 9:30 in the morning, the ability to stop and take your kids to school and pick them up and do all those things in the middle of the workday. They like that. It's a quality of life issue. And I think that's where the private sector probably will beat the government. If the government's getting a top-down mandate that you will do this many days in, this many days out, or whatever, which I think is stupid, by the way. Either you trust your employees to work remotely and it works for your entity, be it a government entity or a private entity, or you don't. Those are your options. This 20% here, 30% is just stupid to me. Jacob, why are Manchin and Romney even thinking about this? What's their issue? Why are they making this decision?
Yeah, well, I think clearly the decision is being driven by culture war, just kind of feels. It's based on vibes. There's not really any data to support their arguments in favor of, like you said, having a top-down mandate on telework. And just really quickly on the hybrid thing, I think that you would have to be kind of naive to believe that there are zero benefits from being in the office sometimes, right? Like I personally think that there are benefits from being in the office. I like teleworking. I telework 3 days a week. But I mean, for me personally, it was not healthy for me to telework 5 days a week. I'm just that kind of person. I do like being in the office. And my agency went back in stages, and the first stage was all volunteer. I volunteered as soon as I could. I went back into the office 2 days a week, but the flexibility getting the best of both worlds is really a great thing, and I really appreciate it. I like it a lot. But just on it's driven by this idea that work is not being performed, right? That when you're at home and you have this flexibility, workers cannot be trusted to do work. And there's just really not any reason to believe that.
I mean, there's plenty of evidence that that's true, that there are some workers that do that, but that's a management thing. I mean, exactly. It really is.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, there are people that underperform in the office, and you don't blame that on office work. There's, management has a role, management has a job to perform, and they should perform it. And there's no reason, you can look at studies. The Government Accountability Office actually put out a really extensive kind of survey of the landscape of studies on telework. And they could not find any study that showed a consistent and measurable negative impact on on productivity by teleworking, right? And so there were, and in addition, there were even some of the studies where you had like objective measurements, lines of code, for instance, or number of calls resolved for call center workers. Objectively, workers were, somewhere between 7 and 10% more productive when they were
Can I
teleworking.
tell you why that is? And I'll just speak from my own perspective. Let me tell you exactly why that is. If I did not have the setup I have now that is based on my remote working abilities, I would be far less productive. Because there are times now that at 7 p.m. something is needed that I can now do that I wouldn't be able to do till the next day. And I wouldn't be willing to drive all the way up there. For emergencies, obviously. But there are little things that need to be done that I'm not going to do. So sometimes that's 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Sometimes that's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Through the 9 to 5 hours, obviously or in this case, 6 to 5 hours. I'm wherever they need me to be, doing whatever I need to do. But yeah, it makes me more productive because I'm able to do more stuff without the travel time and all the other issues. And that's set up solely by remote work.
Exactly. And even going beyond, because not all jobs have this objective measurement of productivity. There are some that are more difficult to quantify. In even all of those studies, and for those jobs, management reported higher productivity. Management reported better relationships with their with the people that they supervise. And this is important for the federal government because the federal government has lower pay than the private sector, right? And so we already have trouble. Recruiting people. This is something that in my agency we're constantly talking
Benefits.
about. Yes.
If you use this as a benefit, it makes a lot of sense because government. One of the things that attracts people to government over private industry is benefits. And if this is a benefit they can offer that private industry is not willing to offer, or maybe they are willing to offer it, but you could get it and get the benefits of having it with a federal job, then yeah, I could definitely see as a recruiting tool, it makes a lot of sense. It really does. But you have guys in the private industry who are like, we got to get people back to work. And in some industries, I guess like in the financial industry, this has been a problem, like on Wall Street and things like this. They don't like the remote working. They want to have their guys under their thumb. They want to be able to do these things. So it just depends what type of job it is. And that's why, I don't like what Manchin and Romney are doing because it is top down as opposed to maybe a decision that makes more sense as you make on the local level. Hold on. We'll continue with Jacob here in just a second. Let me tell you, though, about Fence One right now. Fence One, these guys are very good at what they do, and I've used them myself, and let me tell you what it is. If you need a fence, and your fence right now is in a state of disrepair, you need to make sure that you're taking care of this thing and getting it back to where it needs to be. Fence One can help you with that. They can build you a brand new fence. They can fix the fence you have, and they specialize in commercial and residential fence installation, repair, staining, and recovery. They're all over this. They're the Best in Business Award winner when it comes to deck repairs, restoration, and pressure washing as well. I've used them for my deck, and they've done a fantastic job there. Best prices, best quality, guaranteed, no question. Get a free in-home estimate from my friends at Fence One, and they will come out and do for you what they did for me. They looked at my deck and said, you got to shore this thing up a little bit, and they did. So schedule your free estimate today. They'll install, repair, and stain what you need when you need it. Fence One is on top of that. Fence1.net. Talk to them today. Jacob, as we finish this up and this conversation does move forward, is there any support in Congress for what these guys want to do? Where they put this mandate down?
Yeah, I mean, you would have a better feel for that than I would. I think that among Democrats, I don't think you're going to be able to pass this in the Senate. And really, I think that if you get to talk to enough Republicans, especially the business types who are less about the culture war and trying to just do kind of silly things, I think that you would be able to bring enough Republicans over to stop this, because it really does not make sense. I mean, I've talked to politically conservative supervisors, right, who are already upset with the limitations on their ability to give telework to their employees set by their own agencies.
Yeah, the only push I see for this is from commercial real estate.
Yes, well, that's another, and that was one of the things, and that was one of the things that actually Romney and Manchin mentioned in their in the reason for filing.
Yeah, that's a bad reason. That's
Yes.
a bad reason. So I don't like that as a reason.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.